Good morning and welcome to Budapest. We don't know how to say. We can't speak Hungarian. It is not.
Service
Is that hello? Oh, is
it?
All right, service.
My Hungarian is fantastic.
Anyway, this is the Parliament building, one of the most famous buildings, I suppose, in Budapest. It's actually the biggest building in. Oh look, it's a tram. Quick, see a tram. I do like the trams. This is the. Quite old-fashioned, some of the trams around here in lots of the places that we've seen. Just I point out, actually, over the other side, that's the other side of the river, because we're actually in Pest. Now, you didn't know this, did you?
I didn't know this.
Yeah,
I love it.
Julie didn't know that this was actually two cities. Pest, the side we're on, where the Parliament building is. The River Danube's just over here. No, God, sorry.
Over there.
It's just there, and the other side, where you can see those ornate buildings over there, which is one of the hills, the Castle Hill, and the royal palaces, etc., where we're heading very shortly, is actually Buda.
Isn't that brilliant?
And they were two different cities, Buda and Pest, separated by the River Danube, which I must say is actually enormous, isn't it?
It is. It's really wide.
I'd never seen the Danube before. I've seen several other. I've been lucky enough to see several other sort of major rivers, the Nile and the Ganges and the Seine, and obviously the Thames and places. But this is definitely the widest one that I've seen so far.
It's about 3 times wider than the Thames in central London.
Yeah, and some great bridges. But I'm sure we'll talk about them. But as I said, Julie wasn't aware that Budapest was actually originally two cities. As I said, Buda and Pest, and they weren't actually unified, and I think it was 1873, which then started that unification. They became part of the old Austro-Hungarian Empire, and Budapest was the co-capital of that empire. Presumably Vienna was the other one.
Must have been.
And obviously the Austro-Hungarian Empire, anybody who knows a little bit about history and world history, that was the start of the First World War, and that all dissolved after the 1918 and the end of the First World War. And as you were saying earlier when we were chatting, was that this is one of those parts of the world where the borders kept changing. We're lucky enough to live in a country, or a kingdom if you want to put it that way, where the borders haven't changed since 1066, or even before that if you want to put it that. But in places like this, the borders have been interchangeable quite a lot, especially over the last couple of 100 years. As I said, 1873, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, then the First World War, the Second World War, and of course they've had communism here and the Eastern Bloc, and then all that changed. So this is a city that's developed over all those years. But I mean, we're still getting over Beatles though. We arrived here yesterday afternoon. What are your first impressions? Because I'd never been to anywhere in like what we class as Eastern Europe before. Neither had you, You've been to Vienna?
Well, I've been to Vienna.
I'm sure the Viennese would say that they've never been an Eastern European country.
I know, but it's the closest I could get to it.
And it's on the Danube, not that far away. You can actually get there by river.
It's 5 hours on a hydrofoil to Vienna, so that gives you a bit of
That'd
geography.
Be quite a cool trip, actually.
Yeah, it would.
Anyway,
My first impression, what's been fascinating, having just been in Seville, is that
cool,
I talked about Seville being a lady. Budapest is definitely a man.
I would definitely go with that.
It's such a masculine city.
Yes.
The architecture is really powerful.
I say this is a Parliament building, and we were pointing out yesterday that actually bits of it do look a bit like the Houses of the Houses of Parliament.
Yeah,
there's that slight Gothic quality. I'm not sure when this was built, to be honest, but 1873, when that was unified, and this was presumably built after that, which would tie in pretty much with the Houses of Parliament. So they've got a similar sort of style.
It's deliberately built opposite the Royal Palace as well, on the other side of the river in Buda. So
sort of contrast
it's
each
all
other.
about power, and what we've really noticed are the monuments. They are all huge.
You can see that side again for a little bit. Yeah.
And it's all about power and masculinity.
We're just looking at the soldiers over. There's some soldiers over there sort of parading around. It's all for show. Yeah, there are a lot of armed guards and that around here, as you expect in front of the Parliament building. But they're doing their little dance routines. Well, not dance routines, but it's so choreographed. You think, I'd just say to Julie, I wonder if they actually make them up, whether they can choreograph their own. But anyway, we just wanted to sort of check in quickly. But last night, actually, we walked around here last night. It had a little bit of rain, but it's cleared up now. It's lovely. But the city looked absolutely stunning last night, didn't it?
Yes, it did, by light. We're hoping to do a boat trip later on today when after sunset, because it is such a beautiful riverfront on both sides.
Yeah, and the buildings, both this side and the other side, but all the buildings, are all lit very delicately, and it looks absolutely stunning, and the bridges are quite interesting as well. Anyway, so we just want to be checking quickly. Very first impressions are pretty good, aren't they? It's another city, a different type of city.
Different again.
And anyway, I'll leave that. I'll carry on. Odds are be April.
Anyway, we're now going to cross the river and go visit those hills over there. We'll see you soon.
Ciao, whatever the word is.